save my soul. Oh, even Jesus Christ to save my soul. Oh, even Jesus Christ to save my soul. Even Jesus Christ to save my soul. Knocking off the floor, J.O. Soul, I know we need to. So even Jesus Christ to save my soul. To save my soul. They lost my flow, but they yo. So even Jesus Christ to save my soul. So even Jesus Christ to save my soul. Time to rock.
Okay, let's get to it. Let's talk about humanoids. Hey, glad to see you, Tori. I know I've been waiting to do this one too. I'm doing it tonight. I don't care how late it is. So, a humanoid is having an appearance or character resembling that of a human without actually being a human. So, that is the definition of a humanoid. And just for fun, I'm going to ask something. Let's see. I want to hear about your spooky encounters and your spooky stories. So it has to be while you were on an adventure, though. It can't just be something that happened on the way of the story. You have to have it on an adventure. Here's some criteria for you. Where you were when this happened. When did it happen? And it has to be some kind of encounter while on an adventure, like camping, hiking, off-roading, that kind of idea. And keep the stories as clean as you can, okay? I'll repeat this again. I want to hear your encounters. So send them to me at KBLPLLC, or you can, that's the best place to get to me. Unless you know me and you have my, you can get me on Messenger, Denise Harris. So, so tell us where you were, when did it happen, and it has to be an encounter while you were on an adventure doing something, like off-roading, camping, hiking, canoeing. You get the idea, okay? And try and keep it as clean as you can. So I want to hear from you. And we'll have one show just of those. So get on there and let me know. Okay. So there's been some really strange, bizarre encounters with surreal mystery humanoids. You look at sightings and reports of strange creatures and mysterious entities. Every so once in a while, something comes across that just seems to exist out of its own sphere of bizarreness. Something so incredibly odd, it falls outside the box, pretty much. And it leaves us utterly baffled. There's been, we've talked about, one of them we're going to talk about is extremely bizarre cryptids of all shapes and sizes. And on more than one occasion, as well as unusual entities that are thought to be aliens, but at other times there is just no real classification to put them in. You don't camp. Oh, stop it. It doesn't have to be camping, hiking, off-roading, stargazing, even something. Okay, just don't, went to the store and something happened, that type of thing, okay? But there's not a place for some of these, a classification for them. Where do you put them? You don't know if you were dealing with a mystery animal, a ghost, a demon, an interdimensional being, or what. These cases swirl around the outer edges of strangeness, seeming to defy us and challenge us to try and make sense of them. Here is a selection of truly out-there reports concerning humanoid creatures that lie squarely entrenched in the realm of the truly unexplained, which is why we're here, right? from deer-headed men to bizarre stick figures to other less definable things and more. And here are some of the weirdest. And these are really, really strange. I hope you don't have nightmares. One very odd humanoid creature of some sort has been reported is what appears to be some sort of deer men, with various truly bizarre sightings of such creatures from all over the United States. One account was made here, northeast Ohio. I'm in kind of in the middle between northwest and northeast. So northeast would be, like the Youngstown. Shorter east would be Cleveland. And this was by a witness who claims he was at his cousin's house playing hide and seek outside. He was about 14. It was reportedly around dusk, and they were playing near a wooded creek when it was the witness's turn to search. And as he did, he claims he heard the sound of leaves crackling underfoot. He turned to look, expecting to see his cousin, but instead he saw a deer through the brush that appeared to be oddly standing up on its hind legs. Unusual for a deer, but which would prove to be even stranger than that. And the report reads as this. Yeah, that's true, Men in Black. Yeah. It was getting dark. This is the kid story. It was getting dark and I was the one searching. I heard leaves crumpling, and when I turned to look, I saw what looked like a deer on its hind legs. I clearly remember seeing dog legs running, but the rest of the body was straight up, and it ran with incredible speed. And I knew it wasn't either of my cousins hiding. I ran as fast as I could back to the house, and one of my cousins was running too. He saw the same thing. It still creeps me out to this day, because my uncle always told us how he saw weird things on that property. And they're kind of, you want to see a picture of one, go to mysteriousuniverse.org. Okay, Mysterious Universe. A sighting of a similar creature that appears to have also had the ability of shape-shifting was made in the state of Delaware in 1993. The witness claims he was around 8 years old at the time, and he had been staying with his family at his grandparents' house in a rural forested area near the town of Hockessin. One morning, he says he woke to a clear day with the sun shining through the window and the surreal sight of the silhouette of a deer with a huge rack of antlers standing just outside. Things would get bizarre rapidly, and this is his report of what happened next. It was right there, almost pressed against the window in profile. And that is when it changed. In one smooth movement, it reared up on its hind legs and was no longer a deer, but a man. There were only two men in the area, my grandfather and my dad, and it was clearly neither. Grandfather was very built for his age. Dad had a gut. The silhouette was clearly younger, muscular, but not like a brick sort of way. It exuded strength, and it scared the hell out of me. It stared to the side for a moment and then strode off with a purpose. Looking back, I want to tell myself it was the imagination of a half-awake child. But I remember the awe and the utter fear when I saw the deer change. Another deer man sighting was made as recently as 2012 in the Wichita Mountains of Oklahoma. In this account, a Kyle Haying claims that he was out at the Wichita Mountains National Wildlife Refuge in order to take photographs of the night sky there with a friend. On this evening around 10 p.m., the usual sounds of the forest suddenly became muted, and the local wildlife started to display some decidedly bizarre and uncharacteristic behavior. First, some elk came running by, and then a herd of bison, and they all came uncomfortably close before running off. And it seemed almost as if these animals were trying to get away from something, scaring them out of the dark forest. This was enough to spook the men into packing up their stuff and calling it a night. And as they did, they felt a strange change in the air pressure, and all the sounds of the woods just stopped to send a profound silence just crashing down upon them. The two unsettled men then heard something rustling about in some tall grass nearby, jarring in the otherwise void of silence that blanketed the area. It seemed like whatever it was coming towards them. Haying claims that he and his friends had then picked up some rifles they had with them, wary of what was apparently approaching. They started the car and began to drive off, and they saw something step out in front of the vehicle, that they would never forget. A creature which Haing described as having a head like an elk, but which stood upright on two human legs, and which had two human arms and dark red eyes. As they passed it, the nightmarish creature lurched forward to hit the car, and Haing floored it as fast as the vehicle would go until they were about 3 miles away, where they stopped to regain their wits, of course. Haing would say of what happened next as like this: "We were scared shitless. Things got even quieter when we stayed there. While there, we heard one ear-piercing screech or scream, almost a hunting screech of some sort that made my hair stand on end and gave me goosebumps. With that, we left the mountains completely. We felt as though we were not wanted there that night. The way the wildlife acted, the figure that we came across that the animals had to have ran from, and then the only scream of which I can only find references to happens to be the banshee. I cannot forget that figure we saw, as well as the scream. It was not human, but it was not any wildlife either." What could that possibly have been? What accounts for what these witnesses saw? Just what type of creature could these things possibly be? And are there any of these accounts connected in any way? No one knows. Deer men are not even the strangest of humanoid creatures to have been reported, and we're just getting started. In the summer of 2012, there was a head-scratching sighting near Washington Park, near Michigan City, Indiana. And this one's really hard to classify. Getting interested yet? Some of these are really creepy. The witness claimed she had been staying at the beach house of a friend by Lake Michigan, and there had been a lightning storm at the time. At around 2 a.m., some of them went outside to smoke and watch the lightning. That was when they noticed the beam of a flashlight scanning the tall grass by the shore, as if searching for something. Thinking this was a bit odd, the group of friends watched on and saw that the beam had captured an elongated, grayish, humanoid-looking creature stretched out on the beach. And this one witness would say, "The light sweeps by something in the grass, then it shines back onto it. What was illuminated was very strange. It appeared to be a naked guy crawling around on the grass, although it had elongated arms and legs. It was moving kind of fast, crunched over. It only lasted a few seconds, long enough for all of us to see it. Then after the thing ran off, the flashlight shines directly at us. It stayed pointing at us until it went out a few seconds later. Creepy." So we're all like, WTF here? What was that? We asked each other what each other saw. We all saw a weird, stretched-out naked guy. The only explainable thing it could have possibly been was a drunk, gangly, naked guy. But I don't think so. It looked abnormally stretched. The light pointed at us, and it freaked everyone out. Something very strange. I can't say what the height of it was accurately. I would say about 7 foot tall. My husband said it looked like something from a Marilyn Manson music video. I wanted to go down there. I wanted to see if we could find it, but no one wanted to go. Everybody was creeped out and went back inside. So what was the outlandish thing that they saw? What was with flashlight, and why did it train itself on the observers of this surreal scene? In August of 2017, last year, guys, there was a series of sightings of a very strange humanoid figure on a farm near Boca Raton, Florida. The witness, who originally posted his experience on Reddit, says that on the 14th, he saw something very unusual one evening at dusk as he was eating dinner and staring out over the property, which he would continue to see for the next 2 nights as well. He said that a very tall, gray-colored humanoid that looked like the character Gumby. You remember Gumby? Gumby and Pokey? But this character Gumby lurched out of the tree line, took a few steps, and went back into the forest. The witness says it was flat, but its legs bended in a way that looked like a plank bending, like how a piece of wood bows when weight is put on it. Yeah, no kidding, right, Florida? Numerous sightings of this, apparently. Anyway, like how a piece of wood bows when weight is put on it, but springs back up when the weight is taken off. Its body, from where I could see it, was rigid. It didn't look flexible aside from the legs, and the limbs were fairly wide. The next night, at the same time, the same exact thing happened. Except my parents were with me. It walked on two legs, but it was more like lunges or lurching steps than human walking. I asked them if they saw that, and they just said, "Saw what?" And it happened again the third night. So either my body is giving me random hallucinations, in sync with my body's time clock, or there's some weird slender gummy demon living on the farm behind my house. I haven't been home much since I haven't been able to look for it again. I haven't seen whatever it was since those 3 times, and I was unable to get a photo of it due to how far away it was. This was in the middle of a very populated city, so seeing something this outlandish was very strange. It would be Florida, right? Excuse me. Okay, if none of this is weird enough for you, how about the disturbing number of reports of stick figures seen lurking in rural and deserted areas of the world? When I say stick figure, I don't mean simply something elongated and thin, but rather literally a stick figure, as if something a child might draw. Or me, I draw stick people. This is one some people have apparently been citing since at least 2008, and they are deeply bizarre to say the least. The stick figures are typically extremely thin, dark beings with no discernible facial features and move smoothly and fluidly, with some reports saying they do not change dimensions no matter what angle they are observed from, as if they're actually 2D constructs, and others mentioning air pressure changes, static electricity, and a feeling of malevolence in their presence. The tales of these creatures certainly have an urban legend vibe to them, but nevertheless, they're numerous enough across the internet and, across the world to deserve a mention. One early account from a man named Simon Howe seems to originate from all the way back to 1982, when a witness says he was studying to be a nurse at Worley Hospital in Essex, England, where he saw what can only be described as a stick figure while he was walking home one night. And the witness says, "I encountered a stick person in the grounds of the hospital as I was walking home one night. It lopped across the roadway, having been seemingly pressed up against a wall. It stopped when it saw me and raised its arms in fright and quickly walked off into the undergrowth. It was very tall with very thin, extremely long arms and legs and a very small oval head. Totally black, no obvious clothing. I saw no face, even though it emerged very near a street lamp, so it was well illuminated." And he was utterly terrified. Another one of these reports comes from a witness named Damien Castiglione, who claims his sister and cousin saw one of these creatures when she was a kid at their aunt's funeral. And the witness says, "My sister told me that she saw a stick man too when she was a kid. Back then it was our aunt's funeral, and she was sitting outside the funeral when she noticed a strange stick-like person walking back and forth above the electric wiring of the pole in front of the funeral, about 10 feet away from she was sitting about 10 feet away from the pole. She got really frightened, and she told our cousin to look. At first our cousin didn't believe her, but after a few minutes she saw the stick man too, and both of them were so terrified. They told our cousin's mom if she saw the stick man, and she said no. It took several hours, it was noon, until dawn before it faded away. I had doubts when she told me, but when I read articles, I was like, wow, a lot of people have seen stick men from around the world. Some of these unearthly creatures have even been apparently photographed. Although the quality of this evidence, of course, you have to scratch your head, leaves much to be desired. But such reports have actually poured in from all corners of the globe, and it seems to be a phenomenon from which there is no clear answer. If these stick-like figures are actually real, then what could they possibly be? Aliens, interdimensional beings, or ghosts, or what? Whatever they are or aren't, actual literal stick figures prowling darkened roads and woods at night have to rank right up there as among the oddest, most bizarre things you could expect to come across. I would pee my pants literally if I saw one coming home from work, because I go through three different roads. There are no lights. It's woods. And it is freaking creepy at night, believe me. I don't know what I do. That's really weird. A literal stick figure. Interesting, interesting. It seems the world of strange sightings can awfully truly veer off into completely uncharted territory. Hi, Stephen. How are you? I'm typing so. Good to see you. Have you ever seen stick figures or deer men or anything? I actually don't know what I'd do if I saw something like that. I really don't know. That's so bizarre. But as I was saying, the world of strange sightings can truly veer off into completely uncharted territory. And so things that seem unable to be truly classified, existing in their own fringe of the world of sheer, utter insanity. They lurk in the dim confines of a realm we have no understanding of. Yeah, you don't live near the woods. Oh, good for you. Um, but they lurk in the dim confines of a realm we have no understanding of, and which many do not even know if there is there at all. These are things for which there is no easy way to classify. Things which seem to have lurched out of some sort of horror story. What are these creatures, if anything? How can we explain these oddities and anomalies? If we can get anything out of this, it is that there are some truly strange, bizarre sightings out there that truly defy convention. And and they'll never cease to amaze and puzzle. I don't know. Ooh, creepy, creepy, creepy. Um, those are here's some unidentified humanoids. I don't know. There's some bizarre encounters. There was an unidentified humanoid creature seen near George Washington's estate. A strange unidentified humanoid creature has been spotted near Mount Vernon, just outside of the nation's capital. It could possibly be one of DC's reptilian swamp creatures crawled out of her office for a bit of sightseeing. Maybe. The sighting reportedly occurred a couple miles north of Mount Vernon. Despite its name, Mount Vernon is not a mountain. It is a former plantation home of George Washington on the Potomac River. On July 31st, a motorist driving near Mount Vernon spotted what appeared to be a deer, here we go, by the side of the road, until it stood up and ran across the road. An Ohio investigator, Ron McGlone, received a report of the sighting, and it was published by Mount Vernon News. The witness is described as credible and requested to remain anonymous. Whoever they are, the eyewitness says the creature ran out of a cornfield across the highway at a tremendous rate of speed, crossing the highway in a few steps. According to the witness, the creature appeared to stand 7 to 8 feet tall, hairless, with light brown skin, and possessing a tall, slender body, arms and legs in small diameter. Hands and feet looked oversized for the body. A small neck with oval, elongated head. The witness also said the humanoid figure had large, black, oval-shaped eyes, similar to our favorite, gray aliens. As it stands now, this is a lone substantiated sighting. The Knox County Sheriff's Department has not reported any other sightings from the same area. Could this have been a wildlife encounter? Yeah, I don't think so. With the speed with which full-grown male deer can run, maybe, if it ran quickly in front of your car. But if it's standing up, who knows what it might have been. The Washington, D.C. area, of course, attracts all sorts of strange visitors. We know reptilian aliens aren't really the ones in charge after all. Another type of terrifying vile creature is the spineless, soulless corporate shill hiding inside a suit and person mask. They typically aren't seen in their true form unless you've got a pair of those sunglasses from They Live. I love it. They're saying they saw a humanoid on Mars. Yeah, I don't know about that. Um, I think that's kind of funny, actually. But anyway, so, this is from all over. Um, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Oh, great, that's not good. We're going to get into some of this other stuff later on, like the hellhounds of the U.S., bizarre hellhound encounters. Um, Interesting. Dogmen, Women in Black, and MIB. So we'll be discussing that later on. There's a lot of info out there. Now we're going to talk about encounters with bizarre humanoids in Japan. Now, Japan, of course, in Tokyo and all that, they have Godzilla and Mothra and all that cool shit. So, anyway, one type of very unusual phenomenon that seems to span the worlds of ghosts, aliens, and cryptozoology is that of the enigmatic, often utterly perplexing humanoid creatures of all types. These beings can take a wide range of sizes and shapes, but they all have some things in common, in that they are more or less human-like, but not human, in basic form, and they are all lie well out on the fringe of the weird. Mysterious reports of encounters with bizarre humanoid entities come in from all over the world, from people from all walks of life, and the nation of Japan has its fair share. And here are some of the most oddest. And this is not that old. They're recent, like 2015. It's not like it's been, 100 years ago or something. So, in November of 2015, there was a rather odd encounter with some sort of identified humanoid just outside the beautiful historic former capital city of Kyoto, known for its numerous traditional temples and ancient shrines. And this is according to Cryptozoology News. A 36-year-old teacher had a rather surreal experience as he's driving from Tokyo to Kyoto for his brother's wedding. At around 10 p.m., he claims he stopped at a small roadside shop and stepped outside to have a cigarette before hitting the road again. The surrounding area was said to be forested, and as he had his cigarette and admired the view, he noticed something quite odd in the form of a slouched humanoid figure lurking off the brush about 200 feet away. Whatever it was moved in a distinctly odd way, and as he looked on, he could begin to make out some of its features and came to the conclusion this was no person at all. It was described as being wiry and slightly muscular, around 6 feet tall with bent-over posture and covered in gray skin. No clothing was visible, and it remained hunched over, with its unnaturally long arms dragging along the ground. The witness could not see the thing's face clearly. He did notice a strange detail that seemed to emit a faint yellow or white light coming from behind it, just around its lower back. The startled man called out to it, but it did not respond, and he stared after it as it meandered off into the forest. It's hard to tell what this entity could have possibly been. This gentleman had his own thoughts, suggesting it was an actual specimen of a type of folkloric creature known as Shirami. God, some of these words. This creature was said to be a mischievous, impish thing. Oh, Chris, where are you? Sounds like you're freaks. A mischievous, impish thing that liked to scare travelers in the region around Kyoto. Very bizarrely, the creature is depicted in folklore as having a huge glittering eye. Oh, God. In its butt, okay? And indeed, Shirami literally means buttocks eye. There you go. Oh, no. A butt eye. Let's not go there. Too late, right? One big glittering eye in its butt. Okay. Too bad the witness couldn't see an eye back there, but it's left for us to speculate whether this was an anus-eyed mythical creature, an alien, an interdimensional traveler, or one of our alien creatures out there. Kyoto has in later years been the location for other similarly strange sightings as well. In 2016, a woman living on the outskirts of the city claimed she was startled when she heard her normally quiet dog start barking uncontrollably. Wondering what was going on, she claims to have looked outside to see the animal cowering against a fence, smashing up against it as hard as it could, trying to push itself away through the barrier and away from something in the yard. When the woman looked to see what it was so afraid of, she was met with the sight of a skinny, gray-skinned creature hunched over the dog's food bowl, apparently eating it with relish and ignoring the barks and whines of the dog. She says that the odd creature was humanoid, but gray and hairless, very thin and sinewy, like a greyhound, and with long arms that extended into tiny clawed hands. At first she could not make out its face as it was concentrating on eating. But it seemed to sense it was being watched and whipped up its head and looked straight at her in surprise. This is what she says next. It had a small triangular face with huge yellow eyes that took up most of its face and seemed to faintly glow. As it licked its lips, I could see it had sharp, jagged teeth. It looked at me for a second with a startled expression and leapt right over the fence in a single bound. Apparently it was hungry, so I don't know. Even more recently is a report from the same city from March of this year, March of 2018, guys. It involves an out-of-town tourist who was staying in Kyoto at a place he had found on that Airbnb. On the evening of March 11th, yeah, these are recent. These are not old. This was this past March, guys. And it was an out-of-towner, and he was staying at a place he found on Airbnb. On the evening of March 11th, he claims he had been on his way back to his place around 11:40 p.m. As he passed the darkened shrine, there were two bizarre creatures that jumped over the wall right in front of him, seemingly coming from the shrine's courtyard. At first, he thought them to be children. But as they approached, he could see there was something altogether different. The creatures were described as being 3 to 4 feet tall, with bodies that were white as snow, long thin arms and legs, and heads with pointy ears and large triangular black eyes. When they saw the witness, the beings seemed startled, and they began to run away. And the witness talked to, a lot of these people have talked to, I'm not sure I forget what this means, but I will look it up. That's who they talked to. Move on. They ran with arms behind them as they went behind a corner of a wall. As I walked towards there, one of them looked back at me and made eye contact. I was terrified. I didn't want to get too close, and I lost sight of them as they turned a corner. While the exact origins of these particular creatures are unclear, another strange and frightening humanoid report from another area of Japan seems to suggest bizarre creatures, which can only be described as aliens. On February 23, 1975, two 7-year-old boys were out roller skating in the early evening hours when they claimed they saw in the sky a pair of luminous orange lights that flickered and made strange ticking sound. As they looked down in amazement, one of the lights apparently moved off towards the distant mountains. The other started to descend towards the ground that was near them. The boys claimed they went off to investigate and saw the strange craft come down to rest in a small vineyard behind an old abandoned estate. The craft was described as being a domed disc around 15 feet in diameter and 7 feet high, and it rested on 3 ball-shaped legs. The loud ticking sound of the craft was very pronounced as they drew closer, sounding somewhat reminiscent of a Geiger counter. As the two boys pondered what they were seeing, a hatch purportedly opened on the side out of nowhere, and a ladder extended, after which a strange-looking being climbed out. The creature was about 4 feet tall, was wearing a reflective silver suit of some sort. The being's skin was allegedly a dark brown in color and was covered with thick wrinkles. Thank you. I knew what it was. I couldn't get it out though. Like I said, I kept saying identified, which was, I was putting 2 words together. Mutual UFO Network. Thank you, Michelle. Very much. A lot of these people, these witnesses, talked to them. So, and it was covered with thick wrinkles that were so pronounced as to make most of its facial features indiscernible. It had 2 pointed ears and prominent and intimidating 2-inch long silver fangs. In its hands, it held some sort of device whose purpose we don't know. Another of the creatures could be seen sitting within the craft, huddled over some sort of control panel. Whatever it was completely ignored the 2 young boys standing there gawking as it proceeded to carefully examine the surrounding terrain. After a few moments of this, it suddenly seemed to become aware of the boys, after which it approached them and patted one of them, Yamahata, twice on the shoulder while issuing a sound that sounded like a tape recorder running backwards. Upon being tapped, Yamahata slumped to the ground and was unable to move, paralyzed. This pushed the other boy into action. He quickly scooped his friend up and ran as fast as his legs could carry him. When he got home, Yamahata came to, and they supposedly told their parents what happened. And they grudgingly followed the boys out to the estate to see the strange orange light coming up into the sky for themselves. The light would then emit a burst of blinding light and vanish. Later, school officials would descend upon the area to examine the site and would find 2 sturdy concrete posts that had been pushed over by some powerful force, as well as a ring pattern etched into the ground nearby. Excuse me. Authorities of the Civil Aviation Bureau would later get wind of the story and, of course, dismiss the lights as normal aircraft in the area. What could that humanoid have been? So there you go. Yeah, of course, they were merely lights from aircraft in the area. Sound familiar? Another account from that same area that seems to involve some sort of gnome-like creature that are really hard to classify. The witness say that this happened in the summer of 2011, out in the wilds of Yamanashi. The man claims he had been hiking along a remote trail in the middle of nowhere when he, yeah, of course, right? When he heard, it sounded like singing coming from somewhere up ahead. It seemed odd, as this was a rarely used trail and he had not passed anyone or seen anyone out all day. He stood and listened, and the ethereal singing continued, the voices high-pitched like those of children. Curious, the witness continued, and the singing got louder. He slowed down and quietly approached what seemed to be the source, which was a forest clearing up ahead. As he peeked through the brush into the clearing, he could now see the origins of the singing. And they were not children. He explained there were 7 to 10 tiny beings in the clearing, about 3 feet in height, and wearing what looked like some white robes. The faces seemed to be all bright red in color, and they were all dancing about and singing in a language the man could not understand. Most bizarrely of all, they were making huge lofty bounds around the clearing, gracefully arching up into the air to come floating down, as if they were defying gravity somehow. The witness claims that at some point they realized they were being watched and abruptly stopped their singing, dancing, and bounding. At this point, they all turned in unison and stared at the intruder. He could see that their red faces held smallish, beady black eyes, large noses, and they had tiny mouths with no expression. For a moment, they merely stared at each other, and the witness said he could feel a certain feeling of dread, as if he was not supposed to be there, and described the sense he got from the entities as somewhat malevolent. Then, without a sound, the creatures suddenly and silently dispersed into the surrounding forest, totally without a sound, without so much as a snap of a twig or a rustle of branches. This report, of course, defies easy classification. What in the world could these entities have been? Through all these reports, a sense of bafflement is a common thread, and we're left to speculate on the nature of any of these perplexing beings. Considering their unearthly humanoid nature, It seems unlikely that any of these things could have been any sort of undiscovered cryptid in the wilds of Japan. Spirits may be of some sort. One possibility is that they could have been visitors from some other dimension, so-called ultra-terrestrials. And we'll do a show on that too. I've got a whole thing. Yeah, a weather balloon, yeah, with lights on it. There you go. Yeah, I love it. They're called ultra-terrestrials who have, for whatever reasons, managed to somehow punch through into our reality. Is this what they were? What do you think? It is curious to note, in some cases, these creatures seem to have been as surprised as the witnesses, as if they are baffled as to how they could be seen. Does that have any significance, do you think? There's plenty of questions and we're likely to be left without answers. These reports serve to merely add to the very bizarre literature on strange humanoid sightings reported from all over the world. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. What do you guys think about humanoids? Mm-hmm. Oh, we're going to do a show on phantom cars too. Oh, that one's going to be fun. I can't wait. Weird encounters with phantom cars. Oh, that one's going to be fun. We'll take a quick break here. I got a little bit more alien music, thanks to Michelle for turning me onto this site. So I hope you enjoy. I found kind of an interesting band for the horror alien aspect. So they're called Reptilian. And they're really pretty good, actually. So when we get back, we're going to talk about bizarre humanoids in the desert. So think about this. What do you think? Where do you think they come from? Do you even believe in them, as far as that goes? So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Okay, and welcome back to KLP and Encounters of the Strange Time. We're talking about humanoid creatures tonight. They appear human, but they are not human. We talked about humanoids in Japan and surreal stories of humanoids across the world. Here in the U.S. Now we're going to talk about bizarre humanoids in the desert. And it may seem as if the wastelands of the deserts are, do you think they're completely devoid of life? They're never-ending expanses of bleak scrub and sand dunes. It appears it must be a barren realm. Might as well be on another planet, right? Wrong. Life does, live here, behind the scenes, eking out a living in these badlands, but there are also quite a few reports of mysterious creatures from here of a surprisingly humanoid nature. And up next are some of the strangest. One of the most bizarre and unsolved cases of a desert humanoid creature of some sort is an enormous beast that has come to be known as a Yucca Man. Yucca, I'm not sure. I call it Yucca Man. Yucca sounds bad. Yucca Man. The tales seem to originate in the 1960s in the vicinity of the 29 Palms military base. Located in the Mojave Desert of southeastern California and southern Nevada. Here in this remote, desolate location, there would be a series of events that has remained unexplained for decades, and which hints at some sort of desert roaming humanoid entity. The first sighting that really put the phenomena on the map allegedly occurred in 1971, when a Marine from the base who was on guard duty reported hearing something out in the desert scrub. It sounded like heavy breathing, like from some very large creature, as well as grunts and growls, seemingly circling his guard station. When he warily went out to investigate, expecting, of course, to see some wild animal. And he claimed to have been confronted by a gigantic 8-foot-tall, hairy ape-like creature with glowing red eyes. The Marine is knocked down by the beast, only to waken hours later and find his rifle twisted and bent like a pretzel. This would be far from the last anyone would hear of the strange creature, with frequent reports of dogs going haywire, hikers encountering a stench beginning to come in at a steady rate in the following years. And there was such a lot of odd occurrences at Joshua Tree National Park throughout the early 70s, with numerous campers telling of a large beast rummaging through their campsites, and even attempting to open their tents, as well as park employees telling of sighting a monstrous man-like forms prowling the desert that were estimated of being up to 12 feet tall. There were also massive footprints found, and several indistinct, predictably blurry pictures of the creature or creatures were taken. Let me ask you something. Speaking of pictures, why is it something about these creatures that you can't get a clear picture? Is there something around them? Are they interdimensional and that's why they come out blurry? Because I have not seen that many clear pictures of these creatures. So, what do you think? It's with the technology your phones and cameras have, come on, we should be able to get, but it seems we never get one. Not a clear one, as if something's around them that's not letting us, take a clear picture. Your thoughts on that? Anyway, such sightings made their way into several Southern California news publications at the time. In one June 1973 report from the Antelope Valley Daily Ledger, described the creature and some reports as follows. The creatures like to run around houses leaving footprints. That's its M.O. in the East Lancaster area, where footprints were found around several houses. One woman reported that the creature ran around her house and scratched at the door. A small boy, sent to tell his father supper was ready, was found hours later crying near the corral. When asked what happened to him, he answered that a big furry man would not let him pass. In that year, 1973, there were many sightings of the creature in the area of Lancaster, in the western Mojave Desert in California. Such sightings made by 3 separate Marines and other disparate witnesses as well. It got to the point where in this year there was a near tragedy when 2 search parties were out Bigfoot hunting in the wake of the mysterious reports and almost opened fire on each other. Oh, what a surprise, right? Sightings continued, and in 1979 there was an account given by an elderly couple who claimed that the beast had stepped right out in front of their car to tower over their vehicle before lumbering off into the night, leaving enormous tracks behind. In that same year, there were 2 additional sightings from Hemet, California, of a massive 10-foot tall creature that left behind footprints a foot and a half long. And around this time, there was a string of sightings of all sorts of strange phenomena near the Edwards Air Force Base. Another surprise, right? About 22 miles northeast of Lancaster. Here there were numerous reports of base personnel sighting hulking humanoid figures in the dark, which allegedly used a series of underground tunnels to move about. Oddly, there were many purported UFO sightings in the air at the same time, but whether or not this has any connection is not clear. One of the more far-out reports from the base was collected by a Bigfoot researcher, Edwards, Bobby, and Slate, and concerned that one of the creatures had apparently bright blue eyes. The report was given by a base policeman who said, "Heading back to the main base, I noticed maybe 200 to 300 yards to my left these large blue eyes. I do a lot of night hunting, and it was strange. They were larger than anything I'd seen before. The blue eyes had to be about 4 inches apart and 7 feet off the ground. I stopped the truck and sat there watching them. It was too dark to see any body shape to the thing. The blue glows proceeded toward my truck at a right angle for about 100 yards and stopped. The movement of the eyes was extremely fast. Another thing that bothered me was that they didn't bob up and down. It was like 2 lights on a wire moving from one point to another." This particular creature was nicknamed Blue Eyes, has apparently been regularly seen by base police, and has been widely discussed amongst them right to the present. Several other personnel at the remote desert base at the time also came forward to anonymously report that large Bigfoot-like creatures have been routinely spotted through night vision equipment, skirting the perimeter of the base, often with red glowing eyes, walking through it, or even venturing into the many underground tunnels in the area. Excuse me. The witness explained that the presence of the creature was officially classified, and they had been specifically ordered not to fire upon them. There had been allegedly several instances of catching the creatures on surveillance cameras at the base, but this footage was also labeled classified, never released to the public. Of course not. It's not even necessarily Bigfoot-like creatures that have been seen, as there are reports of indistinct shadow men and even shape-changing entities from the base, as well as what seem to be just disembodied glowing eyes. So what's going on here? Also from Southern California are more modern reports of some sort of hair-covered, semi-bipedal creature with glowing red eyes that has been seen loping or running along at high speeds along Highway 14, which has become known as the Sierra Highway Devil. Another odd, red-eyed humanoid monstrosity from the same area is what has come to be called the Cement Monster, named for its appearance at a concrete mine near Big Bear Lake, owned by the Mitsubishi Cement Corporation. In 1988, the beast was seen by 2 U.S. Marines who were on their way home from a skiing trip to the area when they saw the creature looming over an abandoned strip mine in the area. One of the witnesses would tell researcher Douglas Trapp this. From the left side of the road, something very large seemed to stand up on 2 legs and run across the road. The bottom half looked human, covered with hair. The top half wasn't very visible, but appeared monstrous. Scary. The headlights only got the bottom half, and the damn thing ran out about 150 feet in front of us. It made it across the road in 3 strides. I distinctly remember seeing the arms pumping back and forth, just like any of us would do if sprinting across the road in front of a car. It had to be at least 8 feet tall. In the sun-scorched, burning wilderness of a place called Borrego Sink, 45 miles southeast of Borrego Springs, California. There have been reported terrifying encounters between man and mystery beast. The desert may seem to be a strange place to find a Bigfoot, or a Bigfoot-like creature. But not only have they been reported in this wasteland, but they seem to be rather aggressive, especially the ones that have come to be known as the Borrego Sasquatch. One such incident occurred in 1939 when a man was camping alone in one of the many dry gulches of the area. The man was awoken in the middle of the night by a band of two-legged hairy creatures stalking about his camp on the fringes of the campfire's light. The beasts were described as having white or silver fur and possessed piercing red eyes that glowed. The pack of creatures circled the camp menacingly, but seemed to be somewhat afraid of the fire and kept their distance till they slunk back into the desert. This is around the Anza-Borrego wastelands out there. 30 years later, in the same region, a man by the name of Harold Lancaster had his own frightening encounter as he was camping in the sink. Lancaster described how an enormous, hair-covered bipedal creature stalked out of the wilderness and lumbered straight towards him in an intimidating manner. The man, fearing that he was about to be attacked, fired his revolver into the air in an effort to scare the monster away. Whatever it was, the gunshots did the trick, and the thing reportedly jumped around 3 feet into the air before glaring at him and running off into the brush. Borrego Sink is not the only place in the desert with its share of ominous man-beasts. In a place called Dead Man's Hole, located 7 miles from Warner Springs on Highway 79, a string of vicious unsolved murders occurred back in the 19th century that have long been blamed on a malicious marauding Sasquatch. In 1858, the first victim was killed under mysterious circumstances, followed by more slayings over the years. A Frenchman who was slaughtered in his cabin, a prospector named David Blair who was killed by what looked like a knife attack, and a woman named Belinda who was strangled and mutilated. It would have been chalked up to an insane killer on the loose had it not been for the curious story that surfaced in 1888. 2 hunters were out hunting in an area known as Dark Canyon when they came across a cave full of the scattered remains of various mutilated animals. As they invested the cave, the hunters reported having been attacked by a huge, man-like beast covered in matted black hair with huge hands and feet. According to the hunters, they opened fire on the beast and killed it, after which its body was apparently moved to San Diego and shown to the police. At the time, a paper called the San Diego Union ran the story and claimed that the rampaging mystery creature had been the one responsible for the murders, causing quite a public stir in the process. Oddly, the paper ran a story the following day dismissing it. Okay, true or not, we'll never really know. What is known is that the mysterious murders remain unsolved. Another strange case involving some sort of humanoid creature comes from the deserts of Mexican state of Chihuahua. At the end of 1989 and the beginning of 1990, a group of teenagers were on a mission to explore the caves of a place called Cerro Pajarito when they came across something that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. As the group was exploring one of the caves, they came upon the discovery of a dead deer and a doe that were freshly killed and exhibited 3 odd perforations on their necks that formed in a triangular pattern. In the surrounding area, there were footprints that looked like those of a puma, but it soon became apparent that no puma had done this. The group suddenly heard blood-curdling squealing sounds, and the air became pervaded by a stench described as smelling like burning wood. The terror-gripped group of teenagers looked and saw a hunched-over humanoid creature crouched upon a rock about 15 meters away from them. The creature apparently started bounding towards them, and one of the groups emptied his pistol at it. The bullet seemed to have no effect. As the panic group turned tail and ran for dear life, they reported passing yet another humanoid creature that was described as being metallic green in color and standing only 80 centimeters high. The desert indeed is a very isolated domain of intense beauty and solitude. Anyone who has been there can attest to that. There is something about these places that holds a certain mystique and allure that is hard to pinpoint. And there are vast mysteries lurking here. What are these humanoid entities that we have looked at here? And how or why do they manage to remain in this forbidding landscape? Are these cryptids some sort of desert Sasquatch? Are they ghosts, demons, interdimensional travelers? No one knows. But they seem to serve to add to the allure of these forgotten and avoided places. What do you think? It's awful strange that the Marines were told not to fire at them. Do you think that they were created there? Interesting question, I think. What do you guys think? Is it possible? Because we all know they've been after some sort of making. I don't want to say making. In lieu of another word, we'll go with making a super soldier. So could this possibly be some of their not so well thought out plans there? Just a curiosity. Seems strange, and that they're told not to fire upon them, and all these pictures and reports are now classified. They're not released to the public. Thinking out loud here, so let me know what you think. Got one more story for you, and it's about this humanoid alien hitchhiker, and it was filmed on the Texas highway. People have a lot of conflicting feelings about hitchhikers, of course. Some strange person hanging out on the side of the highway, trying to get a ride in the car you paid good money for. Who do they think they are? Seriously. Of course, there are tons of urban legends and probably a few actual cases of unsuspecting motorists being terrorized by psychotic hitchhikers. Oh, please, yes. You ever see Hitchhiker? Yeah, no, don't pick one up. On the other hand, it's a nice thing to do for someone. In return, you get all the most valuable currency of all. You get a lot of stories. Both of those possibilities are most likely ratcheted up to the extreme when it's an extraterrestrial hitchhiker. That might have been the case with some dashcam footage out of Texas, which shows a short humanoid figure looking as generically like a gray alien as possible, standing by the side of a highway in Texas. The alien in question has green-gray skin, classic E.T. or Man in Black looking face, and yep, it's got the pointy ears too. You can see the short look. There is a clip, a video. I think you can go to YouTube. Humanoid alien hitchhiker. Okay, check it out. It's a short little figure off to the right of the roadway, its arms outstretched in a very unnatural position. It's got a green hue and looks equally like a lazy depiction of an E.T. and a lazy depiction of an elf. If this is actually one of those two creatures, it would make a strong case for reality itself being pretty lazy. The driver was on a highway in Texas when they noticed a strange figure by the side of the road. The video was sent to, of course, MUFON, which is, as Michelle told us, the Mutual UFO Network, okay, for further analysis and investigation. And according to the witness, the witness person walking dressed strangely. When I passed and looked in my mirror, it was gone. This thing, they have a pretty decent depiction of it from the video. It's kind of got these really long, skinny feet, the big, long, elongated head, muscular arms, but again, the elongated, skinny fingers. You can kind of see his skeleton, under his skin. And again, this alien fellow vanishes too. If this is an actual reptilian alien humanoid, there's some questions where, why are you standing on the side of the road? If you need a ride, why did you vanish? Are you just messing with somebody? It's hard telling. If it's not an alien, just a person dressed like they're gunning for, a few questions still arise. Likely, this is one of those sightings we'll never get any more information on. unless there's an invasion of little green men in the near future. But something tells me I'm not going to bet on that outcome. Regardless, whether you're an alien, an elf, a hitchhiking nerd, or just someone with too much time on your hands, let's hope he gets to where he's going. It's kind of, a creepy, the depiction of him. So, yeah. So what do you think? Are humanoids out there? What do you think? There's some weird encounters with humanoids in Texas. Um, there are a lot of strange cases and of creatures and entities out there, of course, scattered across the world. Of course, some of these accounts have no clear origin or logical answer to explain what people are seeing. And strikingly, many of such reports describe entities that are humanoid in nature, which serve to defy all attempts to truly classify them. The U.S. state of Texas has more than its share of accounts of bizarre humanoid creatures. The first one we'll look at is about as bizarre as they come. Paranormal researcher Albert S. Rosales wrote a series of books called Humanoid Encounters, so check those out, which focus on sightings of various strange entities corresponding to certain years. In the 70 to 1974 edition, there is a very odd report from the town of Amarillo, which supposedly took place in 1970. In the account, the witness claims that he moved into a ranch with his family surrounded by a desolate landscape of sand dunes and little vegetation. For the first few days at their new home, nothing, particularly happened. But it took a deep right turn in Bizarreville rather quickly. It started when the grandmother allegedly discovered a den of wolf cubs near the house. But when she brought the grandfather there the next day to show him, it was found the adult wolves were dead and the cubs were nowhere to be seen. When the wolf carcasses were examined, it seemed as if they had been torn apart by something very large with very large claws, and this understandably made them a bit wary as to what was roaming around there. The next evening, the grandfather had a nightmare in which he had a premonition of intense foreboding and a warning to move away immediately. When he awoke in a cold sweat, he went out to the outhouse. As he did, he claimed to have seen a hulking humanoid figure with glowing red eyes, which seemed to be surveying the house from the dark. Interestingly, the witness's great-grandmother also had a premonition that night, and he would say of what happened next. Earlier that night, my great-grandmother had a terrible feeling and sent my granduncle Ray with his family to check up on his brother. Ray was almost to the house when the car ran out of water. He remembered there was a well nearby and went to get some. He didn't get too far when a thing with red eyes came in front of him. He ran back to the car and told his family to run to his brother's house. He grabbed a shotgun and Bowie knife so he could buy his family time to get away. Ray made sure the car was between him and the creature. The creature charged him quickly. He shot at nearly point-blank range several times, with no effect. He tried to stab it, but almost got slashed by its claws. He ran as fast as he could to the house, and the creature followed, but suddenly stopped short of the hill. By then, the entire family was awake and saw it on the hill staring at them. Grandfather told all the girls to get in the bed of the truck and covered them with lots of blankets and other stuff to make a barrier in case the creature jumped back there. The men were in the cab of the truck staring at the hulking being. They drove past it, praying it didn't attack them. Its gaze was on the house. Excuse me. Suddenly, it jumped off the hill and began to chase them. It stopped short of the line where the sand ended and the grass began. After this harrowing encounter, they went back the following day to get their things from the house, only to find the ranch owner and numerous police and military-looking people all over the area. On top of this, it appeared as if the entire first floor of the home had been completely wrecked by something. This was all strange enough, but what really makes it even more surreal And off the wall is what happened when a police canine unit was released. And this is a report of what transpired. A canine unit went to investigate. The first floor was totally destroyed. The second floor was the same as well. The dogs got a scent of something and started to bark at the attic door. The officers opened the door and let the dogs up. Everybody heard the dogs fighting with something. Suddenly the dogs were thrown out of the attic window like rag dolls. They were both skinned alive. The two officers went into the attic to see what the hell it was. Everybody outside heard lots of gunfire, then saw one of the officers being thrown out the window. He was dead before he hit the ground. When everybody looked up toward the window, they saw the creature clear as day. It looked like a big, bald, blue-skinned man with big red eyes and sharp claws. The high-ranking military men ordered its destruction. Everybody opened fire in the house. Two guys threw grenades into the attic, and of course they exploded. The house was then set on fire. Why would military people want to set the house on fire? Grandfather and the family left, but later heard that the only body found was that of the other officer. Footprints were found leading away from the house. And they heard nothing again to their knowledge. Why would the military men, order its destruction and then burn the house? Why? A lot of questions there, if you ask me. It leaves one wondering what they actually encountered. The problem is, of course, again, it's classified. Speaking of hulking, terrifyingly beastly humanoids, there is another report covered on the site, True Horror Stories of Texas. If you want to go there, go ahead. It's called True Horror Stories of Texas. And it involves a witness known only as Jacqueline. She claims she was on her way back to the town of Cold Spring, Texas, after visiting her father in Houston, and as she was passing by Lake Livingston Dam at around 10 p.m., when some decidedly weird events would unfold, as follows. I was past that light in total darkness with only my headlight shining. I saw something up ahead and slowed down. It was a furry creature on all fours crossing the road. I'll never forget the way it felt. The hair on my arms were standing up, had goosebumps just remembering it. It looked like the boy from the Jungle Book crossing the road with the hind part of the body higher than the front. It stopped just on the other side of my truck, passing a few feet in front of it. It was dark gray and black. It didn't seem to have a face, or maybe it just had too much hair. It was too big to be any dog or animal. I still don't know what it was. All I know is I drove off, speeding away, looking back into my rearview mirror, hoping it wasn't following me. I locked up and stayed close to my rifle the whole night. What was it? Some kind of, maybe a werewolf? If it was, then it would not be alone out in the Lone Star State. One of the most well-known of such supposed werewolf reports comes from the town of Converse, Texas. This was during the 1800s. A rancher moved on to a modest plot of land in the area with his son. One day, the rancher apparently sent his son off on a deer hunting trip, determined to toughen him up, make a man out of him. He was described as a rather frail and nerdy boy who liked to study and read all day, then go out in the great outdoors. The boy found himself at a heavily forested area called Skull Crossing. He disappeared into the woods for several hours. When he returned, he was out without any kill, and his father, of course, was deeply disappointed. For his part, the boy claimed he had been stalked through the woods by some sort of werewolf, and this was one of the reasons he had not been able to hunt. And of course, Dad didn't believe him. He instead made his son turn right back around and go back to finish the job he had started, despite the boy's pleas not to make him go. So again the young man ventured out into the wilderness, and his father stood there waiting. The hours passed and the sun began to set, bathing the woods in darkness, but the boy would not appear. The father grew worried, and he decided to call upon some other locals to go out and look for his son, fearful that something may have happened to him. As they fanned out into the increasingly murky forest, they probably thought that they would find the inexperienced lad out wandering without a clue. But they would soon find out that something altogether more sinister had transpired. According to the story, the search partly came upon a monstrous, hairy beast measuring 8 feet tall, which was described as looking like a cross between wolf and man, and was more disturbingly still crouched down in the process of eating the dead son of the rancher. The party apparently shot and chased off the monstrosity, which dispersed with supernatural speed. But the boy was dead, torn to shreds. Some versions of what happened to the rancher vary. Some say he went insane. Others say he locked himself away to wither and die, or killed himself. What was this thing? A real werewolf? A bear? Misidentified bear? Or something like a Sasquatch? We may never know. The converse werewolf remains little more than a historical oddity. And joining werewolves in the wilds of Texas is what has been described as basically a cross between a man and a goat, which supposedly haunts the picturesque locale of White Rock Lake. For years there have been accounts from the area being terrorized by a humanoid entity that has a body mostly like that of a man, but with hoofed feet, a horned head, and long fingers with twisted claw-like fingernails. Whatever it is, the goat man of White Rock has been seen far and wide and become entrenched in the local lore. And very interestingly, Texas seems to be crawling with goat men, as there is another said to haunt the old Alton Bridge in Denton County. Another said to prowl the wilds of Lake Worth. Cryptids, ghosts, interdimensional beings. What are goat men? Some sort of creature with glowing eyes that was seen in North Houston, even photographed. In 2013, a paramedic claims that he had been at the Mushki Cemetery in order to take a rest along with his partner around 2 a.m. As they drifted off to sleep, there was apparently heard something roaming about. And when the pair peered into the dark, they were met with the sight of two glowing eyes peering right back at them. The partner had apparently had the presence of mind to snap a picture of whatever it was, and was soon posted to the internet. It is on there. It's pretty mundane mostly, but there are indeed two glowing orbs in the upper left-hand corner that look like they could be the eyes. A very surreal and most certainly paranormal entity reported from Texas, uncovered by Glenn Harrison, and posted at True Texas Horror Stories, is that of a strange creature known as the Bad Thing. The entity was first mentioned in Adventures in the Unknown Interior of America, and begins with the arrival of conquistadors, who during their many adventures came across a native tribe in the Ozark Mountains who told the Spaniards they had been visited by a mysterious bearded stranger who always appeared as rather indistinct or blurry, as if maintaining its hold on reality. Again, is this why we can't take a clear picture of these entities or humanoids? The stranger was said to carry with him some sort of blindingly bright light, a lantern or wand, which he would wave about and in some cases cause people to faint in fright or under the influence of some arcane force. The appearance of this wandering figure was often accompanied by the discovery of the dead bodies of animals and humans who appeared to have been surgically operated on, some of their organs removed, and the whole thing stitched back together. Other tribesmen showed scars or disfiguration they claimed that had been inflicted by the Bad Thing. The stranger was also said to appear at tribal feasts or celebrations, lurking in the shadows to merely watch, never partaking in the meals laid out at such events. According to legend, he would never talk to anyone except to say he was from a place from the regions below. The conquistadors mostly laughed at such stories, but he used it all as a way to try to convert the natives. What was the Bad Thing? An ancient spirit, a demon, an alien, some kind of humanoid for sure. Perhaps even weirder still are the creatures not stalking about the land, but rather through the skies above. Another report covered on the site, True Horror Stories of Texas, in 2000. The witness claims he had been driving along Highway IH-37 between San Antonio and Corpus Christi at around 1 a.m. He was heading along the interstate, the nighttime scenery flashing by, of course, when something odd flew up right out of the night and up over his car. The encounter was described as follows. A large white humanoid figure with wings, not a crane, a goose, or a swan, or a bird of prey. A humanoid figure with skin wings. I was doing about 65 miles per hour, and it came from the right rear and crossed my driving line at about 45 degrees, overtaking me by as much as 5 to 10 miles per hour. As it crossed over me, it was only 10 or so feet up above the roof of my vehicle. The wingspan was probably 6 to 8 feet, and the skin was white. The wings looked to be constructed more like you would expect to see on a bat or pterodactyl, but solid, defined human arms on the leading edge. There were definitely human legs trailing behind it, and the torso was built like a human. Because it came from behind, I didn't see a face, but I'm glad I didn't. And this is all in Texas, guys, so another flying humanoid creature that has plenty of coverage in Texas is the so-called Houston Batman. Sightings began back in the 1950s when a bat-like humanoid was seen all over the area by numerous witnesses. The first official sighting happened in June of '53. 3 neighbors at the Houston Heights apartment complex saw what they would describe as a very tall man or man-like figure standing about 6.5 feet tall with bat-like wings attached. Making it all stranger was that the entity seemed to be surrounded by ethereal glow. Ever since the, quote, Batman has been seen across the city, often causing witnesses to freeze for no reason, and that nobody has ever explained this. What lies out there in the Badlands of Texas? What strange creatures and entities call this place home? We might not find any concrete answers soon, but such accounts serve to get you going. Are these ghosts, specters, demons, or some sort of interdimensional entities, or so-called ultra-terrestrials? The very isolated nature of these reports leaves us, of course, baffled. In the end, we can only guess at the nature of such humanoid beasts, and hope we do not run into one hope we do not run across them anytime soon, and especially traveling in the dark in Texas. So, that's a lot of humanoids. What do you think? Oh, I like the reports of that one where they classified photographs and the reports around that Marine base out there in the Mojave Desert. And they were ordered not to fire or not to destroy them. And at that rancher's house, the military people there ordered it destroyed and burned the house down. To me, that's kind of, wow. Orders to do that? What's going on there? We'll have to dig more into these military bases and what's going on. And that'll be in the future also. Strange things. But not to fire upon them or anything, just watch them. It makes you think. It makes you wonder, what's going on at that place? As I said, we all know the armed forces have been wanting to make or come up with a super soldier. So did they do some experiments? Did they go wrong? We may never know, but it's certainly worth thinking about. So what'd you think? Do you believe in humanoids? Kind of strange. Why would, there's just reports from all over. And of course, like I always say, it comes from somewhere. And it makes me wonder, okay, with the blurry pictures, is there something surrounding them that's stopping us from taking a clear picture of them? There never is one. Makes you wonder, don't it? In some upcoming shows, we're going to do encounters with phantom cars. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be fun. And we're going to talk about bizarre accounts of the pale crawlers, the giant creepy crawlers, and mantis men. So we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff in the future here. We're going to talk about bizarre hellhound encounters in the U.S. and Dog Men, Women in Black, and Men in Black. So that'll probably be a two-parter. That's going to be interesting. And we're also going to talk about evil gnomes, imps, and the Tommy knockers in the future. You have an idea or would like something for me to talk about on Encounters with the Strange Kind, let me know at KBLP LLC. It is on Facebook. So let me know what you would like to hear, okay? So we got lots coming up, and also I'll be doing a live podcast from a haunted attraction here in Ohio. We're in Northwest Ohio. We have what we call the Haunted Hydro, and it's so popular. So that is hopefully where we'll be broadcasting from. So lots to look forward to. And yay to Michelle Auger and Ecto. Very cool. Hopefully that she'll be doing that soon. Check it out for sure. Okay. Talk about some of the lineups coming up. Of course, Encounters was tonight. Tomorrow, join Michelle and myself with Planted B period, O period, B period, with fall planning. Summer's about over, guys. Happy Labor Day, everybody, by the way. Hope you have a safe, great holiday weekend. Tuesday, we'll do DWD with hip-hop. My hours have been so jacked up, it's ridiculous. This past week, I think I had half a day off all week, and I have to work all this week. So much fun, I know. And my hours, I've been working till 1:15 a.m. most nights. Again, tomorrow night. I didn't work quite as late tonight, and I apologize that I haven't gotten to the shows because of my hours. They have been totally ridiculous. So hopefully, this is a tourist area, so hopefully after the holiday, things will settle down. So bear with me here. But I wanted to get this one done. I've been looking forward to doing this humanoid thing for a week already. So, and again, I apologize for not getting on Thursday, Friday, and yesterday. What is today? And doing DWD tonight. I'm trying to do some catch-up work, and I'm trying to get to it as soon as I can, hours allowing. So tomorrow, join Michelle and myself with Planet B period, O period, B period, Planet B-O-B. We're going to, like I said, talk about fall planning. Tuesday, join me with DWD with hip-hop. I hope I can get it done, Tori. I really do. I have a lot of music to download yet. So hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, we'll get it done. Wednesday, Fear the Walking Dead. Thank you, Michelle, for doing that last week. I had to work till 1:15 in the morning. So Michelle did it for me, and thank you so much. She did a great job. Thank you so much, Michelle. This Wednesday, I'll be doing it, Fear the Walking Dead. I hope you watched it tonight. Interesting show. Thursday, we shall see Encounters. There's some things I want to do. But I start my vacation on Thursday, so we shall see. I'm not sure if I'll be on next week or not. I may get a show or two in, but it is my vacation. A lot of hip-hop, yeah, thanks to Tori, and doing his research again for me. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. You have no idea how much I appreciate that. I would not have had the time for sure. And thank you, Dee, out there, if you're listening. For offering to help and do some research for me also. You guys rock. You really doing it. It just, sometimes you find things I haven't found. So I really appreciate it. I really, really do. So thank you, Dee, for offering. And I'll probably take you up on it too. There's so much we could go. There's so much to do, to go over. So hopefully we'll get to all of that. A couple of shout-outs. Shout-out to True Horror Junkies. You guys rock. Art of Darkness. You guys rock also. The Walking Dead Freak Show with Michelle. Conflicted with Julie Kinney, whom we've had on Planet B.O.B. She is an awesome, awesome woman. She is great. And it's scenarios of what if. So check it out. Survival Wolves with Mike Ronan. Check that out. I apologize, I haven't been on anything this past week. The other thing I've been doing is eating and sleeping, pretty much. Get up and do it again. So please bear with me. I do apologize again, and we'll get straightened out here soon. So shout out to Horror Three Ring Circus, King Barker and Beyond. I don't want to forget anybody. Did I forget anybody? Planet B period O period B period on Facebook. You want to know about survival tips, prepping, or whatever, that is the place to go. They will help you with any of your questions you have. They are great, great people. And of Conflicted and Survival Wolves. Awesome, awesome people. So check it out. And Tori, you're so wonderful. Thank you so much, hon. You guys have no idea how much help you've been. And Dee, thank you, because I'm going to probably take you up on that. I really appreciate it. It's been kind of crazy. Excuse me. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I need to shout out to. I can't think of anybody else. So that's just shows for this week. And Friday, of course, don't miss Freaks in the Basement with our own big freak, Chris Stevens. Awesome, awesome show. He plays some great music. I love his music. He finds great music, too. And then don't forget Lolita's Jam Thursday night. Check it out. She plays your hip-hop, Tori, underground, and some new artists, so check her out. I don't know if Hollywood Review will be on it. Like I said, I'm on vacay. We shall see. I'm not sure about this week or next week yet. Probably I'll do Fear for sure. Hey, guess what's coming up in like 10 days? American Horror Story. So we have to get on that too. And I hope Michelle, she start. Oh, I'm glad, Chris. Thank you. You're probably busier than hell, just like here. I hope you're just be careful out there, okay? And please, guys, don't drink and drive out there, okay? Have a great, safe weekend, but don't drink and drive. Call Uber. Call Lyft. Chris does it, so give him a call, please. Have fun, but do it safely, okay? Yeah, I bet you have been. Holiday weekend. I'll bet. Hope it's lucrative for you. I hope you make lots of money at it. You probably make more than I do. I put in like 50 hours last week. It's been crazy. All I do is sleep, go to work, and do it again. So, yeah, I'll bet you have. Did you? Who? Oh, cool. Who? Anybody we know? Tell us. Are they good? And you're gonna have to check them out now, aren't you? Oh, awesome. And you're gonna check them out. That's how you found the Struts, right? So, hey, there you go. Now you're finding dimes. We'll have to check them out now, for sure. God, you meet some really cool people, Chris, honestly. Very, very cool. Okay, let us know about them. I appreciate it. So we'll be talking about Mannesmen and the pale crawlers and the giant creepy crawlers, all kind of stuff. Finding dimes, very cool. And we're going to check them out, right? That's how you found the Struts. So awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah, check his show out Friday nights. Freaks in the Basement. He's our biggest freak of all. Yes, I'm pretty... Keep your fingers crossed, Tori. If I can get the music down. Awesome. Good. I'll have to check them out now, Chris. Excuse me, guys. Too much of listening to myself talk. They're a rock band. Very cool. You find some interesting people from interesting people, some interesting bands. Awesome, awesome music. You always keep coming up with some good ones. So if you think they're pretty good, then they're good. Then I will check them out. What? You've been listening to too much Latino music lately. English, please. Yeah, if you say they're good, Chris, then we will listen. I'll listen to them. I will check them out. Very, very cool. Okay, guys. God, it's been a long, long week, and I got 4 more days here. Or what is today? Sunday? What is today? 3 more. So, and I work again till 1 in the morning, Monday night. So, it'll be another late night. So, keep your fingers crossed. I get this music downloaded. I got so much hip-hop stuff to do. I got some done, but he really, he's so awesome. Lots of stuff to do. So, anyway, I think I covered everything and everybody. So, I have some more reptilium. They're kind of interesting. Alien music. Oh, excuse me. Good Lord, I got the hiccups now. It means I'll be here. Oh, okay. Thank you. He'll be here. Well, I hope so. Yeah, I'm like, what? It means I'll be here on Tuesday. Good. Excellent. I hope so. You're the one who did most of the research on that. So, excellent. Okay, got a little more music to play. Happy Labor Day weekend. Oh, very cool, Chris. Thank you. You stay safe out there, okay? You got to watch out for everybody else. Seriously. Crazy, crazy people. Okay, stay safe. Just watch out for the other people. All right. Autographed? Very cool. Excellent. That's no worries, Michelle. I know you're at work. I know how it's been, believe me. No worries. Yeah, it's humanoids. Interesting. You'll have to let me know what you think about that, Michelle. Not autographed. Aw, bummer. At least you got one though. That's cool. You're welcome. Excellent. Yeah, please, everybody stay safe out there. Be careful driving out there. I don't know, but there's lunatics here. I'm telling you what. This is like resort, Vacation Land USA. Oh my God. You think they never heard of a turning lane before? It's been absolutely nuts. So yeah, happy Labor Day, everybody. Stay safe. If you're going to drink, stay home or wherever you're at. Or call Uber or Lyft, okay? Chris will come get you. Don't drink and drive, please. Yeah, I hope you guys have a good day tomorrow. I'll be working. Labor Day, right? That means work. So, apparently. Yes. Yeah. I should be up by then. I'm so freaking tired. Yeah, we are still on. Definitely. And stay safe barbecuing and at your barbecues and everything, okay? Have fun, though. It's going to be hot, so take care out there. Yes, happy Labor Day, everybody. Can't believe it's Labor Day already. Wow. I'm typing. I can't talk and do that at the same time. So have fun. Have enjoy the last day of your long weekend. Kids are back in school. Stay safe out there. Chris, especially you. You're driving in this stuff, so stay safe. Michelle, be careful going home. Trying to think anything else. I think I covered everything. So have a great night. Don't work too hard, Michelle. I know exactly where you're coming from. So I'm going to hit it. Y'all have a great night. Peace out, y'all.